Is Rick Carlisle the right coach for the Dallas Mavericks?
Oh, that's like a greenie tease. I'm here for it.
Talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavs Podcast.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and coordinator for the Locked On Podcast Network. And joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor at Mavs.com, the coaching kid, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Oh man, how we feeling, Mavs fans? Where are we at? Like, what's the temperature? What's the doctor's office with the pain meter on the wall of like 1 through 10? Where are we at?
Say eight. Say 8.
I tweeted out today in between some meetings. I tweeted out, I was like, hey, how's Mavs Twitter today? And I checked it later on. It was a lot of replies of a couple different things. Of one, very frustrated, but two, shots at Donnie Nelson all day. And people are really upset with some Donnie Nelson comments. If you missed anything from exit interview, you can go back to yesterday's podcast. We talked all about the exit interviews from Rick and Luka and Donnie and everything. We played a bunch of clips so you can watch it on YouTube, listen to podcasts.
Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you to the 4,000 of you that have already subscribed to our YouTube channel. 4K, baby. We are live in 4K. Okay, maybe not.
Like
4K.
what? How many months have we had the YouTube channel?
We started April 2nd was the first video we posted. So 3 months.
Little over 2 months.
Was that April and May? Yeah, a little over 2 months, actually. Yeah, you're right.
That's wild. Let's go.
Thank
you, guys. Thank you.
That's the Raccoon Squad in action. Today's episode is brought to you by Michelob Ultra at only 2.6 carbs, 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the Ultra Player of the Week coming up later in the episode. It will not be Marcus Morris. All right, Isaac Harris. Today, we are going to talk about Rick Carlisle and his coaching job for the Dallas Mavericks. We'll talk about the season a little bit. We'll get into reasons why Rick should stay, reasons why Rick should leave. We'll talk about Mark Cuban's comments to Tim McMahon. That was a pretty big one. And this is the reason why we're bringing this up, is because Mark Cuban shared a comment to Tim McMahon after Rick Carlisle was asked by Mac Engel. We're going back in the rabbit hole now. We're going deep in the rabbit hole.
Theodore Engel,
which is his full name. Did not know that until he saw his Zoom name on in the media session. But so Mac Engel of the Fort Worth Star Telegram asked Rick Carlisle if he was still the right coach for the Mavericks and to lead the Mavericks to winning a playoff series and then a title. And Rick Carlisle said, that's a question you have to ask Mark, alluding to Mark Cuban. I don't think it's just a normal Mark. I obviously do, but I text him and see what he has to say about it. Tim McMahon whipped out his phone immediately and texted Mark Cuban. And Mark Cuban told Tim McMahon, quote, "Let me tell you how I look at coaching. You don't make a change to make a change unless you have somebody that you know is much, much, much better. The grass is rarely greener on the other side." That's Mark Cuban's approach to coaching. Thoughts?
Oh man. What I think the thought of that, of when you have any type of loss like this and a series that a lot of people going into it, you didn't have a chance. A lot of people didn't think you had a chance, but then you're up 2-0 going back home and you're up 30-11. You lose that series. Then you have the chance to close out the series again in game 6 at home. You lose the series in that fashion. A lot of people are looking for the scapegoat, right? It's like, all right, is it KP? Roster changes. A lot of people have Donnie Nelson in their crosshairs right now, especially after his comment stuff. And Rick Carlisle has been, part of the franchise for such a long time. He's been this cornerstone. So it's like you kind of, depending on what fan you talk to, some people have multiple people in their crosshairs right now. But depending on who it is, it's like some people fixate on one thing. It's like, oh, we need this change in the front office. We need this personnel change. We need a coaching change. And so I thought it was telling that, one, this was, Mac asked the question really quick. This was right after them losing a game 7 that this conversation was brought up, because Mac knew. I mean, Mac's been doing this for a while. Of, hey, this is going to be a conversation people bring up. And for Mark to answer it that way, it was kind of like the Luka extension thing. Like if you had a little doubt in the back of your mind, like, I wonder if he's going to sign it, or is Rick really going to be here next year? This was kind of pouring the water on the fire a little bit from Mark and I thought it was interesting. I do have some like questions about it. Like rarely it's greener on the other side. Yeah, I mean, is that true? Like, is that true for every team? Is it like, what if every franchise had that like mindset? Like, I just don't know. There's a lot to sort through that quote. I'm not saying anything like as far as like for Rick with this, like that mindset, if everyone had that mindset of like, oh, the grass is, rarely greener on the other side. I feel like there's been teams throughout history that have looked at their coach's situation like, all right, they bring in a new face and then a title follows a few years later, depending on, the roster and all that.
But if you look at the coaches right now, this is a list of the active coaches. I'm sharing it on YouTube if you're subscribed. And Rick Carlisle is the third longest tenured coach currently in the NBA. He's been with the Dallas Mavericks since May 9th of 2008. It's a small chance, but there are some of you listening that have been alive like almost as long as Rick Carlisle's tenure with the Mavericks. There's not many of you that are listening.
If you're
right
listening
now,
to this podcast and you have a Twitter and you were not born when Rick Carlisle took this job, I need
2008.
I need you to reach out to us.
Yeah, if you were born in 2008, that means you're 13 years old or potentially 12 still. So yeah, reach out to us and let us know. Our metrics say it. There's not many of you that listen to the show. But yeah, so Rick Carlisle is the third longest tenure. Before that, Greg Popovich started in 96. He's an institution essentially. Eric Spoelstra started in 2008, actually a couple weeks before Rick Carlisle. And then there's Steve Kerr, Quinn Snyder, both in 2014. You have Michael Malone started in 2015. Scott Brooks of the Washington Wizards started in 2016. He's the seventh longest tenured coach in the NBA. Yeah. And then you keep going through it.
Well, even that top five changed. Two of the people in the top five changed over the past few weeks because like Kerr and Snyder weren't in that top five until, like a few weeks ago. It used to be Pop, Spoelstra, Rick Carlisle, then Terry Stotts, then Brad Stevens. Yep. And we know Terry Stotts has been let go or mutually parted ways, however they want to word that. Brad Stevens gets elevated. So it's like, man, two of the top five changed in that to where that top three really of Pop, Spo and Rick. I think that's where you look at him saying, all right, or just bring Kerr into that too. Of like, these are the guys that's been there the longest. And then you have to ask yourself too of like, well, what's all these guys at the top? What have they done over the past 10 years? This is the, Rick Carlisle wins the title. Popovich won a title. Spoelstra won a title. Steve Kerr won a title. I mean, you win a title, you get kind of job security, right? I'm a huge Baltimore Ravens fan. I love the Ravens. My stepmom growing up, I was from Baltimore, got me loving the Ravens at such a young age. John Harbaugh wins, a Super Bowl for us, and he's still the head coach. And it's like you get that built-in job security for a long time up into some point. And I think some fans that are questioning, or some people are questioning the Rick Carlisle angle of that is, okay, well, what's been the success playoff-wise since the title? And that's a thing you can look at because we've been to playoffs 6 times since 2011. All 6 of those times they've been out in the first round. 3 of those 6 times it hasn't went past 5 games. So it's been 5 games or less, and 3 of those 6 times they've made the playoffs. And so that's the case. Like some people are looking at saying, okay, well, compare that to, Popovich. Popovich had the Spurs in the finals in 2016, 17, 18, one of those years. They were in the final or Western Conference Finals at least. Spoelstra took the Heat to the conference or the actual finals last year. So I know that's an angle that I've seen some people take over the past 48 hours.
I know it's been like this great, but I wanted to bring up that list because I think you start looking at some of these, these coaches, and like you get through, right? There's the 7 that I mentioned that started in 2016 or earlier, the 2 that got let go recently, and then everyone else is like the last 3 years, 2018 to now. I mean, That's the majority of head coaches. Like, look at all these head coaches.
Yeah.
And some of these teams are just stuck in coaching carousels. They just keep bringing coach after coach, and this one doesn't work, and this one doesn't work, and then they just keep moving around.
Yep.
Some of them, it seems like they've found the guy. Monty Williams seems like he's the guy. Vogel won a title with the Lakers. Maybe he's the guy. Maybe he's not. Budenholzer, he's only started in 2018, and it seems like he's already not the coach.
Oh, he's about to be gone, yeah.
It seems like he's going to be gone for sure. Doc Rivers was a guy that had been there for a long time for the Clippers, and they moved on from him. Well, jury's still out if that was the right move for them. But you start getting in this coaching carousel, and then I'm kind of with Cuban sometimes. Is the grass greener? Who can you get? Are you going to get a Monty Williams, or are you going to get a Nate Bjorkgren? Right?
Yeah.
It seems like the two ends of the spectrum for coaches. So coming up, let's get into why Rick Carlisle should be the coach and why he should go. Let's ask those two questions. We'll go through it. We'll break it down, and then we'll talk about it more. But before we do, let's talk about the Ultra Player of the Week. Let's throw out some nominations. This is the Michelob Ultra Player of the Week. There are a couple nominations. It seemed pretty obvious. Luka Doncic, I think, is the guy. Any other nominations you want to throw out?
No, it's Luka. I mean, small case for Dorian, but I like Luka.
Yeah, I think Luka absolutely has to be it. The Mavericks went 1-2 this past week. 3 games that they played. Luka averaged 30 points a game in those three games. Game 5, 6, and 7. He shot just about 50% from the field, 40% from 3, 74% from the line. Just about 8 rebounds, 13 assists a game in those last 3 games. So anybody trying to pin this series loss on Luka I'm concerned. Yeah. He was also just a minus 0.7 on average. So he was pretty close to positive there, pretty close to 0. So Luka Doncic, the Ultra Player of the Week. Is there anything specific that sticks out about the last 3 games from Luka?
I mean, that first quarter in Game 7 was just insane. That it's the biggest stage. It's the playoffs, biggest stage here for him, and yeah, I mean, to drop 19 in the first quarter was just insane against Kawhi.
That beginning of that Game 7, you just felt, oh man, this could be one of those Game 7s where the team just gets blown out at the beginning and they lose it and they crumble. And it was going towards that.
Him laying on the floor looking at the camera. Great
that was amazing. He's the Player of the Week just for that. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Again, 2.6 carbs, 95 calories for Michelob Ultra. Go get you some. Also, want to talk about Locker Room. Locker Room is bringing people together, bringing Mavs fans together. We will continue to do these during the offseason, so come join us on the Locker Room app. Currently available on iOS devices, also some Android. Check it out if you're on Android. You've been waiting around. Create a profile, link your Twitter, and join the NBA group for the latest updates. And then follow me at Nick Van Exit. Get notifications so you'll be notified every time we go live. Locker Room is a pretty cool platform where you can go and talk with other Mavs fans. You can talk with us. You can talk with other NBA fans. There's rooms all the time talking about anything. Go check it out. Locker Room, changing the way we talk sports. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into some more about Rick Carlisle. We've been talking about should he be the coach for the Dallas Mavericks. And let's start with why he should stay. Let's start with that. Why should he be the coach for the Dallas Mavericks? We'll talk about that because Mark Cuban basically made one of the cases, and so we'll continue on that route.
I was say, speaking of Cuban,
the grass. Did he just text you?
Let's keep on.
Did he? So. He kind of made the case. The grass is not always greener on the other side. You could get a, Nate Bjorkgren. You could get some of these other coaches that are not necessarily working out. Could be there's a whole bunch of coaches that have just came and went, it seems like, in 1 year. A Luke Walton situation where you bring a guy in and you commit a lot of money to him, and then all of a sudden it could be a David Blatt situation. You try and make a different move. You invest a lot of money in a guy, and then all of a sudden you just can tell he's just the wrong coach right away. Or you could try and experiment like a Steve Nash. Do we know if Steve Nash is the best coach for this Nets team? It may not matter, but maybe in the finals it comes down to, Steve Nash may not be experienced enough. He's gotten out coached a couple times, I think, this season. So there's just all kinds of different angles you can go with this. This grass is not always greener on the other side. And so that Rick Carlisle can lead the team to a title. He did that with the 2011 team. Now that team was a real veteran team, and so did they need that much coaching? I guess so, but
there was some there were coaching moves that he did throughout that playoff run that played a role in that. And this comes down for Rick as like he's one of the most brilliant basketball minds in the league. Like everyone, and that's a non-biased thing of everyone around the league always talks about how much a wizard he is in game adjustments. He is the ultimate floor raiser, right? Like he can take anything and take that and get the most out of it. And now the question is like, okay, let's stay at what we're talking about now.
Should he stay?
Yeah. Why he stays is because he has won the only title in franchise history. He has proven what he can do with this franchise. He's built that continuity with the front office. Like when people think of the Mavericks, they think of Rick, Donnie, Mark, this whole thing, because like Nick has, rolled through saying how many franchises and everything it's this rotating door of people going in and out, all these different roles. Like, what you're getting in Dallas with Rick Carlisle and those guys. And it's like, okay, you ask the question, who is better? Now, there's a lot of different things that go into like who is better, who's the better like on-court coaching coach, who's the better relational coach, who's the better.
That's
like,
huge.
There's so many different angles you can ask of like who's this and that. I think what a lot of this comes down to is whoever the next coach is. Like if it's Rick for the next 5 years, or if it's somebody else, if a tweet comes out tomorrow and it's somebody else, this coach is probably going to be the coach that finishes out Luka's rookie contract extension. So this is a massive decision on who's going to be the coach over the next 3 to 4 years, because it could help determine whether Luka Doncic is a Dallas Maverick for years and years to come after that. So you look at Rick and say, okay, at least we know what we have there. Like, we're making the case of like why Rick Carlisle stays, of saying we know what he has. Like, they've made the playoffs 2 years in a row. We know what he's done in the past. Like, we know all of that. But there is a slight chance that you strike out if you take away what you know you have and you go get somebody else that doesn't work and it just flames out completely. Then you're not only just flaming out this year, but you're flaming out in Luka Doncic's like prime time, that you're proving to him that you are a franchise worth committing to beyond just the rookie extension, beyond that. So that's a huge thing in my mind of, okay, you know what you got in Rick, you know where Rick can at least get you there. Can Luka help Rick get to that next level? He raises the floor of that. And man, do you want to take that risk of it flaming out and it really putting a sour taste in Luka's mouth when he comes after that extension?
Think about it's such a high leverage situation. Think about the Seth Curry trade. Yeah. Seth Curry trade, when it happens, I feel like everyone was split on it. We were trying to be optimistic about it and thinking, okay, well, they tried to go defense or offense. That's what they needed, was some defense on the wing. They got that in a guy. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't work out in the worst way. Richardson can't play in this Clippers series. That makes no sense, but he can't. And then all of a sudden, you look back and you go, dang, well, not only were the Mavericks were here, and then the Richardson trade took them down to here, because it was a one less player that could play in the rotation and one less three-point shooter. And it took everything down because it was a variable that was changed, or a variable that was added. A coaching change seems like a huge variable to just change all of a sudden, especially when you kind of know where your team is right now. And you know that there are roster moves you can make to improve where this team can go and what this team can do. And so, do you want to do both? Do you want to change the roster and the coach? Then all of a sudden you don't know what the thing was that changed it or affected it for the Mavericks. So it's just, I think it's a risk that the Mavericks don't have to take. And that's one of the reasons why he should stay, right? It's a risk they don't have to take, because you know you can win a title. Like, look at some of the longest tenured coaches. Popovich won a title. Spoelstra won a couple titles. Popovich, a couple titles, obviously. Spoelstra, a couple titles there. Carlisle won a title. Steve Kerr, a couple. Quinn Snyder, he's the 5th longest tenured coach in the NBA. He's not won a title. Michael Malone, nope. Scott Brooks, not even close. James Borrego, not even the playoffs. Budenholzer.
Scott Brooks got close. He took that OKC team to the finals. Oh,
that's just true. I was thinking with the Wizards.
Oh, okay.
But he's the longest tenured coach with the Wizards. Is what I'm saying. Like Scott Brooks, the Wizards, no. James Borrego, no. Budenholzer, no. Dwayne Casey, no. Nick Nurse, yes. Luke Walton, not even close. Monty Williams, May this year. Frank Vogel did. It's like there's a lot of those coaches that have been around a long time that haven't won a title, but Rick Carlisle can.
Yeah.
And has before.
And it's, the young voice. I know some people are like, all right, if you move on from Rick, let's get younger. That's not always the answer, right? Like Nick just listed off names that, like the coach in Indiana right now. It's like, okay, they pulled this guy as assistant coach. You look at Ryan Saunders in Minnesota, just didn't work. Awful. But I'll push back the other way of saying, it doesn't mean an older voice matters either, because look at Stan Van Gundy in New Orleans this year. And it's like, I mean, if he's gone in the next year, next 12 months, are you shocked? I'm not. So
I'm not shocked if he's gone at the end of the sentence.
yeah, it's like, so it's not a younger, it's not an older type thing. Speaking of older, Rick Carlisle is the 6th oldest coach in the league. Well, actually 5th now with Terry Stotts not having a job. But like the only coach who's older than Rick Carlisle in the league is SVG, Tibbs, Dwayne Casey, and Popovich. And yeah, Rick Carlisle is 61. I know that doesn't mean anything, but I was just throwing that nugget in there. But
interesting.
yeah. But it's Rick Carlisle has been here for so long, and he has shown that he can win. Like he's shown he can win with any type of roster. Now, I think in this next segment, we'll talk about, like, there's one thing about being a floor raiser, but at some point, are you the right coach to be able to climb the mountaintop? And that's the question that they're going to have to ask themselves, and really ask Luka Doncic over the next few years of, hey, there's a huge case for him for him to stay and do all this. Like, he's probably going to stay, but there's also a side too of, like, if it came out tomorrow that Dallas went in a different direction, what are those reasons? Coming up next, we'll tell you the reasons why Dallas would go that direction if they did.
Don't let the stress of daily life weigh down on your body, whether you're an elite athlete like us or somebody like you guys that aren't elite athletes. Isaac and I are our bodies are premier right now. We are in just the best shape of our lives. /S. Theragun is the handheld percussive therapy device that releases your deepest muscle tension using a scientifically calibrated combo of depth, speed, and power, and it's as quiet as an electric toothbrush. The Gen 4 Theragun doesn't just feel good, it gets to the source of the pain by releasing tension using Theragun's signature percussive therapy, which goes 60% deeper than vibration alone. Try Theragun for 30 days, starting at only $199. Go to Theragun.com/lockedon right now to get your Gen 4 Theragun and get that great percussive, relaxing. Get it while you need it now. Gen 4 Theragun today. That's Theragun.com/lockedon. Theragun.com/lockedon. Also, I want to tell you about betonline.ag. Oh man, we'll talk about this a lot tomorrow, but BetOnline came up with some odds today. Some real interesting odds today. They decided to put some odds up for Kristaps Porzingis trades. The next team, if Kristaps Porzingis is traded, they decided to put these odds up. I have them right now here on YouTube. Boston Celtics +200. The favorite, the Boston Celtics. I guess not favorite because they're still plus, but Golden State Warriors +225. The Thunder +300. The Magic +400. The Wizards +500. The Bulls +600. Which of those teams stands out to you, Isaac?
You'll find my answer on tomorrow's pod.
We'll talk about it tomorrow, but betonline.ag, use that promo code LOCKEDON to get a 50% welcome bonus to first deposit. You want to put some money down on Porzingis' the next odds if he's traded? I don't know if there's a timeline on this. Is it if Porzingis is traded like next year or 2 years from now? Can you still get those odds then? Interesting. betonline.ag, BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Isaac Harris. Let's go the opposite route. We talked about why he should stay, the longevity. He, not a variable. We know he can win a title. He's a very smart in-game coach, all that. Let's go completely the opposite way. Why should Rick Carlisle go? We'll start here. Rick Carlisle, can he relate to players? Right? You mentioned he's the 6th oldest coach. He's been around a while. He's known as a curmudgeon, at least with the media. He has done things like go visit Dennis Smith Jr. when he was first drafted. Go visit Luka. Go visit.
Going to Slovenia this summer.
He's going to Slovenia this summer to go see Luka, whether he likes it or not, with the Slovenian national team. So he has reached out to guys. We've not heard a ton of stuff about players not liking Rick in a while. We've heard point guards in the past. Obviously, the Rondo thing was huge. We've heard a bunch of other point guards in the past have butt heads with Rick Carlisle, but there is that level of, is he relatable to players? It's a really hard question to answer. To me, it seems like no, but it seems like he's tried to reach out and tried to do that. But is he the most relatable player or coach for these players?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, I feel like that's the kind of debate with head coaches now is who's the player's coach versus the coach that's going to stand their ground and kind of like, hey, their way or the highway type of thing. And it's like,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because, there's one angle of saying, okay, well, maybe Luka at the age of 22 needs a player coach. He needs a guy that can connect with him. And it's more of like a new age approach to the game of basketball and coaching, all that stuff. Or you could go the opposite way of saying, maybe Rick Carlisle is the best thing for him because Rick's not going to take any crap. Like, if they had a younger coach, are we for sure Luka would just be like, no, bro, I got this. Like, no, I'm going to tell you because Luka is so good. It's like, he's probably not saying that to Rick, So maybe that's for Rick at 61, the whole, that question has been in place. Even take away the age and where he's at right now with this young roster. That question has been with Rick for a while, going back to Detroit days, going back to Pacers days. You can find interactions with, his players, whatever, that maybe, that didn't.
There may or not be an article about this written by one of us on Fansided. That may be something that has been written by one of us. I don't know if you want to go back and try looking for that one.
I forgot that even exists.
I remember when you wrote that.
But like you can go back and look at some of these, things over the past that Rick Carlisle style. Like, I mean, I'll say like his style and his personality, it's not the best fit for everyone. Like that's very safe to say. Like that's just a very obvious thing. I'm not taking any shots on that. And that goes back to Detroit days, Indiana days. There's been some people that just haven't meshed with him. Goes back to the Dallas days. Rondo, before Rondo, Jason Kidd. Guys looking to some Jason Kidd stories back in the day. So ultimately, the Rick conversation as far as where he goes moving forward, it's Luka Doncic's decision, right? I mean, wherever they make a decision about coaching, if Luka wants Rick to stay, guess who's not going to leave? Rick Carlisle.
Can I push back on that a second?
There's no way. They're going to.
Does Luka have that say yet?
Yes.
I mean,
100%.
I don't think the thing is, I don't think they're going to ask him.
Oh,
I think if Luka came out and stated his opinion, like Damian Lillard did about the potential coach, which then Jason Kidd withdrew. But I think if Luka comes out and says it, but I don't know if they're going to Luka. I don't know if he has that yet.
It might not be a full ask, but it will be.
That's what I'm saying.
We'll tell them. In a meeting, there's no way. There's no way.
We'll be filming him. We'll be filming him, and we'll gauge his micro expressions on his face. We'll get that guy from Lie to Me or The Mentalist, and see his micro expressions and see how he responds, and then we'll decide from there.
There's just no way on earth that Luka is blindsided by any coaching change right now. There's no way.
I think that this front office and coach and owner have been doing it for so long that I think that they might not consider his opinion.
They would risk Luka. What if Luka loves him more than anyone in this world as far as a basketball man? It's like, no, I'm winning a title with him.
If they knew that about Rick, then they would just keep him.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like if Luka has kept that close to his vest and it's like, hey, I'm just going to be like a professional. I'm going to play basketball, do my thing. But he really does like, and they came out of left field and said, hey, he's out. And Luka's like, no, like that's the thing. Like they're not going to risk that.
But I think if they knew that beforehand, then they wouldn't make the change. They would just keep it because it goes back to the variable conversation. Like it's already a variable. We don't want to change it. But so the other way, if they knew that he didn't like the coach, would they go out of their way to remove him? You think they would?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that they just wouldn't go ask him in general. I think that they're still. But
it's the semantics of it. I don't know if it's a, hey, Luka, bring you in. Luka, make the decision for us. I think it's a, hey, this is where we're thinking about going. What's your thoughts on it type of thing. And if Luka has major reservations, I don't think they're going to make a move that risk pissing off their franchise, cornerstone that whoever the new coach would be over the next 3 or 4 years. I just think if they ever do make a change in his contract here in Dallas, he's going to know about it beforehand. And that's my whole thing with it. And so for Rick,
I just don't think NBA teams give players like that unless it's a LeBron or a Lillard. It's literally,
he's basically, I mean, he's that level though, right? I mean,
he's that level of player, but you have to have that level of cachet with the organization. And I don't think he's been there long enough.
I think it's a new age though.
That longevity. It could be. You could be right about this, but I also think that this is an old school front office.
We got city jerseys that look like Real Madrid jerseys.
Yeah, that's marketing.
The whole arena music changes
marketing.
when this dude walks out on the floor.
That's marketing.
To warm up. He has
the
his
guy
own
over
play.
your left shoulder. That's marketing too. Like that's all marketing towards him. But does the front office think that way? Are they still stuck?
You're not going to risk pissing him off. You can't lose him. Like you're not going to risk pissing him off.
Well, as soon as they get him signed to that extension, that rookie extension, I think that they're going to do whatever they want. try and think
I think they would still talk to him
because they're going to think that they're smarter than a 22-year-old. He's good at basketball, but is he good at deciding the right coach, right? Like, I don't know. Is Donnie Nelson going to think that?
Yeah, they could explain it to him. I just don't think he's going to be in the dark. That's my whole thing. I'm not saying Luka will be the puppeteer. I'm just saying I just don't think he's going to be in the dark. You can't do that and risk losing him in, a few years, whatever. Now,
it would obviously be a stupid thing. Let me be clear on that. It would be stupid for them to not go to say to him, but I have my doubts if they would.
And if it did happen, Luka, the right thing for Luka to say would be like, no, that's not my decisions to make. That's honestly,
he'll say that publicly.
Yeah.
We don't know what he's going to say.
Now,
but anyway, yeah.
Staying on this conversation and this angle to it, if you look at it and say, why on earth would they do it? If they did make this change, then it would be kind of, in a way, different situations. He would kind of be, Luka's Don Nelson to Dirk, right? Or an Avery Johnson, right. That it's a coach that helped, earlier part of their career, but it wasn't maybe the right voice, right coach for him to take that next, step as him, as a player, as a team and everything. It's totally different situations. I get that, but just that.
There's some age parallels with the Don Nelson, Dirk, like Luka Carlisle thing though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like legendary older coach, young budding star. But the question is, will the next coach be Avery Johnson or will it be Rick Carlisle? Right? If you're going to make a change, will it be a guy that can just take them? Like Avery Johnson was kind of like Budenholzer, right? Like really good in the regular season, took them to like 67 games and then playoffs, and it was like, that's
why if
they took them to a finals. Let me be fair about that.
Yeah, and then it was rigged and all of that. That's why if
that's true. That's true. Can we hold that against him? Probably not.
That's why if they did make a change, I don't like the angle to it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a whoever, even though Cuban said this to ESPN, McMahon stuff saying, "Oh, okay, well, when you make a change, you have to know that whoever's coming up has to be, completely much better." Or three muches on that, much better than the other. I don't think the angle would be, "Oh, this coach, whoever the replacement is that much better than Rick," because Rick is an amazing basketball mind and coach and everything. I think the angle to it would be, they just needed a new voice. And sometimes, if they did go that route, sometimes that is what an organization needs, right? You look at the Mark Jackson, the Steve Kerr, you look at just some of these different, organizations that were getting close, but they just couldn't get over the hump. I'm not saying that's where they're at all. I'm just saying if they did make the change, these are the mindsets. This is what we're trying to do with both of these segments here of like, if they made the change if they decide to keep Carlisle. The last segment was why they would keep it. If they did make a change, this whole segment is why they would make that change. And I think that would be the main thing of, man, they just need a new voice, younger team, a little bit younger voice. Like if they did make a change, would you agree with me that it would be somebody younger? I don't see them going to get
I think so.
Another older type of coach. It'd be somebody a little
who's older. Like is George Karl still around? Like who are they gonna find that's older?
Yeah, and I think people would line up for that job too. So but yeah.
Jeff Van Gundy.
I can't even imagine him coaching Luka Doncic.
Marv Albert. Can Marv Albert go? He's older.
Van Gundy would just complain on the sidelines about Luka drawing fouls. About his own player. You called that? You call that foul on Luka? Like, hey, no, don't. He shouldn't draw that.
He'd call him Kristaps or Maxey or something. Last quick question here. Did exit interviews change your opinion about what you thought was going to happen? Because I think after they lost that series, I was like, oh man, they may make a coaching change here. And then it seemed like exit interviews, Cuban's comment, I was like, okay, they're not going to make a change now.
Did it?
I think I was 50-50 after the Mavs lost that series. And then when Cuban's comments came out, I'm like, okay, I'm 95-5. I think they're going to keep him 5% that something crazy happens.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. If they keep on losing in the first round and you have Luka Doncic, even if they play the Clippers again next year and lose again, like this conversation is only going to get stronger. No matter if you're the biggest Carlisle apologist in the world, it's just going to get stronger. And so in the back of my mind, it's like, even though this like, hey, they're underdogs and everything, I'm like, hey, and they're so committed to Rick Carlisle. Yeah, I think there was a small part of me that's like, do they make the change? Is that the change? Because like, I don't think they bring back this whole squad, like everybody, like the whole, like the same core, the same made people, like, do they do the whole thing again? And that's, times the what is it? Times to tell. Is that right?
Head to toe.
Head to toe. We'll see how the next
Time will tell is the idiom.
Yeah, we'll see how the next few weeks play out, or this offseason, to see what stays the same and all of that. But did it change anything? I mean, Cuban's direct comment to Tim McMahon definitely was like, okay, if you had doubts, did I think that 100% shut the door? Like, if they came out tomorrow and we got a Mark Stein tweet saying the Dallas Mavericks and longtime head coach Rick Carlisle decided to part ways, blah, 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 they won, and there's a press conference, all this stuff, are you 100% shocked?
No, that's why the 5% is still there.
Yeah, like, I'm not looking at it being like, wow, like, that's the craziest thing ever. I'd look at it and be like, okay, okay, like, surprising, but I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, out of left field, like the craziest thing in the world. So I think it just lowered those percentages for me, but I'm not saying that door is fully shut on what I think would happen. But I expect him to be back. Like, I think we both expect him to be back.
And I think the bigger weakness is the roster, right? You only had so many players that you could play, and Kristaps Porzingis and Richardson were not the players that we thought they were going to be. And so that's a big weekness. So coming up tomorrow, we'll talk about Kristaps Porzingis. We'll talk about those odds that BetOnline had.
The full KP pod.
We'll have the full KP pod tomorrow, guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.